I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman, executive producer and host of The Peak News. And this is Jim Miller's Just a Guide. Who is Jim Miller? Well, he ran for mayor here in Colorado Springs. When was that, Jim? Back last year, 2023.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was a while back. I'm Jim Miller. I'm just a guy, and here I am with my boss, Chaim.
So I saw him on the stage at the mayoral forums. I said, I got to get this guy on the radio. So when we launched the Peak News, which you can hear Monday through Thursday here in the Springs and across the Pikes Peak region on AM 1460 and FM 101.1, The Answer, we have Jim at the end of every program doing the Peak Rants. And then about a week ago on our program, we had Jim go over a couple ballot initiatives, ranting on each one. And when we walked out of that production, we said, you know what? We need to do a voter guide. We need to do Jim. Jim is just a guy, and so this is just a guide. Now, this is for entertainment purposes only. I will let you know if you decide to vote as Jim is voting or take his advice and don't vote the way that he is voting, then that's on you. But we wanted to add a little bit of comedy, a little bit of sarcasm, a little bit of reality into the electoral process here in El Paso County and Colorado in the Pikes Peak region. And so we are going to be covering at a very rapid pace Jim Miller's comments going through the ballots that are on the Colorado ballot in order, as well as the 3 Colorado Springs ballot initiatives. So Jim Miller, just a guy. Well, welcome to your program. Welcome to Just a Guide.
I feel very, very welcomed right here, right in the heart, just welcomed like no other.
So, Jim, how are you going to approach this? Let's give a context to this. How do you plan to approach? How much preparation have you actually done here?
Well, it's not a lie. The title of me being just a guy is true. I am overworked and overtaxed just like the rest of us. I've gotten a chance to peruse briefly through the voter guide, the blue book that should be the red, white, and blue book, but we know how that goes. So, I could be wrong, I could be right, and the perspective is just like all the rest of us that just live life and are very busy every day, all day, and that's going to be how it's going to be.
And pretty much I'm just going to be setting it up, but I have some things that I might add along the way. But what we want you to do is make sure that, one, that you vote. You got to vote. Please vote. Don't check out of the system. And then get educated. And if this can be part of your education, that's great. I want to let you know that I also, and I'll be talking about it a little bit later in the program, put out a voter guide that's very different than this one, where we survey the candidates and publish their answers and really get as much information as you can. But adding Jim Miller's Just a Guide to the mix, we thought would be a wonderful way to celebrate this crazy electoral season. Now, there are 14 ballot initiatives in Colorado and 3 specifically in Colorado Springs that we are going to be covering today. So Jim, you ready?
That's 17 total, and 14 of the whole is one more than 13. So let's get going.
It's like speed dating for ballot initiatives. Okay, the first one is G. This is Amendment G, modify property tax exemption for veterans with disabilities. Jim, you're a veteran.
I am a veteran. Yes, I am. So this one's to, what does this want us to do? G, shall there be an amendment to the Colorado Constitution concerning the expansion of eligibility for the property tax exemption for veterans with a disability to include a veteran who does not have a service-connected disability rated as a 100% permanent disability, but does have individual unemployability status. So, as a veteran in Colorado, to get any kind of tax exemption, break deals, or anything with your property, you have to be labeled at 100%. I do have some friends and some family that are 100% disabled veterans, and they get a little discount off with things. This one, I'm going to be straight with you. I'm 100% for it. I'm voting yes on it because it's kind of a step in the right direction. There's ratings and stuff with disability. If you're a veteran, you're very familiar with this. You get it. You know how it goes. There should be a little bit of our tax money, a little bit of a break in a deal because owning property isn't cheap. You never really own it. It owns you. Another little break on some of the taxes that we're overtaxed on. And being a veteran, I'm all for it. There's generations deeps of veterans. I'm voting yes on this one.
Okay.
G is a yes for me.
Okay, moving on. Yep.
Yes,
moving
sir.
on. Okay, Amendment H, judicial discipline procedures and confidentiality. And by the way, You should know, I believe there's a law in Colorado that these things, as well as other documents, are supposed to be written as simply as possible. We also have something called a title board that anyone who wants to get these onto the ballot needs to go through, that is supposed to make sure things are simple subject and, again, easy to understand. When you're going through these, look for things, like quadruple negatives and other things that really are quite confusing. The Blue Book can be good, but just for example, it says, and we're going to get to this later, taxpayer-funded abortion 79 has no fiscal impact. How taxpayer-funded anything could have no fiscal impact. So take everything, even what we're saying here today, with some skepticism. And look into it yourself. Don't allow anyone else to tell you how to vote, and don't depend on anybody else to tell you how to vote. But Jim and I are trying to help here today. Jim,
always think for yourself.
Yeah, Amendment H.
Okay, so go ahead and read this one out to me, Haim.
Okay, let's see. Shall there be, ballot title, shall there be an amendment to the Colorado Constitution concerning judicial discipline and in connection therewith establishing an independent judicial discipline adjudicative board, setting standards for judicial review of a discipline case and clarifying when discipline proceedings become public? Okay, a yes vote creates an independent adjudicative board. A no vote means that a select panel of judges will continue to conduct judicial misconduct hearings.
I'm not going to sugarcoat or fib to anybody on this. This is a lot of, I went to law school. I have some college, all right? Does nobody understand that? I hope everybody gets it. I have some college. I am a college dropout, and I had the GI Bill. It paid for it. I don't actually understand everything they said on there. I'm not going to lie to anybody. But the no vote is where I'm leaning because it says it will continue with what is happening now. And I figure that's kind of a safe bet because if the system wants to change it, it's something for their benefit some way, somehow. So with this one, on H, at this point in junction in time, without a thesaurus, all the Googles in front of me, and paying a lawyer to read that to me so I understand it, and the rest of us that just work all day understand it, I'm no on it because it does say on there, it will remain the same. So I'm voting no. So I'm no on H.
Okay. I. Constitutional bail exception for first-degree murder. Shall there be an amendment to the Colorado Constitution concerning creating an exception to the right to bail for cases of murder in first degree when proof is evident or presumption is great? A yes vote allows judges to deny bail to a person charged with first-degree murder when the judge determines that the proof is evident or presumption is great that the person committed the crime. A no vote requires judges to set bail for all persons charged with first-degree murder. I want to say something that some people, if we want to say conspiracy or tinfoil hat on this, we have a right in this country to bail. And so looking at the way that the judicial system has been, the term that people use is weaponized recently, for a judge to be able to say, you've been charged with murder, you don't get bail, could potentially be used against, political opponents and things like that with a judge's discretion. So while on the surface, things, and believe me, look through all of this and look for what's below the surface. If you haven't, unless you completely trust government. But when I've been interviewing people and talking to people about this is suspect of what we would call a Trojan horse amendment, that there's something else there that we don't necessarily notice on first glance.
So I'm honestly voting no on it. And the reason I'm leaning towards no, because once again, here's a whole bunch of nonsense, bunch of filler words, bunch of extra bits, right? But let's look at this part. It allows judges to deny bail. So just some judge, and he may not like you. For those of you that have not been to court, you will go to court and you will find a judge for something because you're supposed to be allegedly or accused of, you're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty, all right? And you never know the circumstance of why something came up with something. I think it gives too much power to judges. So I'm voting no on it because if you've ever been to a court thing of any nature, a speeding ticket, anything, and a judge don't like you, they just start throwing extra fines and extra stuff and go, I don't like the way you look. I don't like the way you talks. I don't like the way you anything. So I'm voting no on it because I think it gives a little bit too much authority to judges, and I think the system
to individuals.
Yeah, they have enough authority as it is.
there's a reason why our founding fathers put bail in our law, that the ability to get out of jail is not something that a lot of countries have throughout history. You get thrown in the dungeon forever. So this was very important, something that would suspend it. And what's also really interesting, Jim, is that this state has decided that there's no death penalty, that even first-degree murder isn't serious enough to bestow the death penalty, but you could be in jail forever without a trial, seemingly, if this passes.
Yeah, and we've seen what happens when they just put people in jail or imprison them for an indefinite time.
Like January 6th.
Hey, we're not on that end of things of bringing that up every 6 seconds, but you know
I don't,
what I'm saying.
I don't, but in case people didn't get that, he may have been referring to that. Okay, we're moving on to J. This is a constitutional amendment. And by the way, these things are constitutional amendments. I want to point that out. We will be getting to propositions and then to questions that we have in Colorado Springs. But an amendment means that it would actually amend the Constitution. And because of that, it needs 55% of the vote. So when they count up the votes, it has to have 55% of those who voted, not 50% plus one person for other ballot initiatives. So, J, repealing the definition of marriage in the Constitution. Currently in the Colorado Constitution, it defines marriage between a man and a woman. This would repeal it. Shall there be an amendment to the Colorado Constitution removing the ban on same-sex marriage?
All right, so here we go. Here's the kicker with me. Is anybody out there divorced or gone through some fun-filled adventurous custody stuff? Look, I'm voting yes on this, and the reason for that is because I am really seeking the equality thing with the divorces and the separations. I want to see what happens when two ladies that are together get divorced and have a couple of kids, because I want to know who pays the alimony, the child support, and who loses the house. So I'm voting yes on it because I really want to see what happens when two ladies get divorced from each other. So I'm going yes on it. You want to be a lady, and marry each other, a dude and a dude? I don't care about any of that stuff anyways, but I want to see the equality through a separation or a divorce.
So this is a test just to see if equality will be applied in a divorce court situation.
I'm just curious to see what happens. Two ladies together, married for a few years, got houses, kids, cars. I want to know who loses what, who pays alimony, who pays child support, who gets it kind of stuck to them, So I'm voting yes on that one. So Jay's a, what was that, Jay? Jay's a yes for me.
Okay, and obviously people who have, moral or religious, reasons for not voting for this know that, as we through all of this, please vote your values, whatever they are. Whether I agree with them, Jim's agree with or not, please get educated and vote your values. Some people are saying that because federally this has already been, in a way, settled, that you have to recognize the gay marriages, that even having this in our Constitution doesn't mean anything anymore. Anyway, now...
Didn't Governor Polis Sausage marry first fellow yada yada
he
animal
did.
Man or whatever? Yeah. So who cares? All right. Nobody cares. In my opinion, I don't care, because I'm like, this is not the most important of things. But please vote via your morals, values, ethics, and from your heart and your mind. You pick and choose your own things. My reasons for voting yes could be your reason to vote no. Please make your own decisions and choices.
Again, we're doing this for entertainment purposes only. So, K, this is Amendment K, modify constitutional election deadline. Again, needs 55% of the vote. Shall there be an amendment to the Colorado Constitution concerning the modification of certain deadlines in connection with specified elections? A yes vote results in earlier deadlines for certain election filings and the publication of ballot measures in newspapers. No would leave it, I assume, as it is currently right now, current constitutional deadlines for election filings and publication in newspapers. So this would, in some ways, make it more difficult to get things filed, less time to get things filed, and it needs a constitutional amendment to do so.
I'm voting no on K. Let's see. Once again, I'm assuming that someone in the system is trying to change something for their benefit or reasoning or some kind of little nitpicky, fighty thing to make it harder for the rest of us to do something. And like I said, some college, so let's keep it in the context here. I think if it just stays like it is, it's probably keeping the system from trying to do a little switcheroo, a little rope-a-dope on the rest of us. So I'm no on K because it's kind of vague and it doesn't really get very detailed. And if we just leave it alone, I know we're screwing up some kind of government officials, weird, sneaky Pete stuff. So K's a no for me.
Now, by the way, there is more to this. We're reading the synopsis that are in the Blue Book. And so there's more. These are larger, documents that you can go read yourself. And especially if you go online, you can see the full text for these things. And also, I'm going to mention a voter guide soon that are putting in some of the ballot amendments in there with more content.
Yes, you have a very detailed one. This is just a guide from just a guy. Yeah. So let's be realistic
Keeping
about
it simple, what you have time probably before you mark your ballot. Okay. So next amendment, this is the big one. This is the one that you're going to actually see a lot of advertising about. This is 79, Amendment 79, constitutional right to abortion. Shall there be a change in the Colorado Constitution recognizing the right to abortion and in connection therewith prohibiting the state and local governments from denying, impeding, or discriminating against the exercise of that right, allowing abortion to be covered service under health insurance plans for Colorado state and local government employees and for enrollees in state and local government insurance programs? A yes vote would change this, and a no vote would keep things the way they are. Now, understand that because when something is changed in the Constitution, it affects something else. There is currently a ban on abortion. Not a ban on abortion, a ban on taxation, tax money to be used for abortion in the state. That would no longer apply. There already is legislation that was passed by the legislature that allows abortion up to full term, but this would really codify it. But what this would also do is take away parental notification guidelines for this. So you're going to be seeing a lot of advertising for this. There's been a lot of money raised, especially on the pro side. You're going to be getting a lot on that. Please read it. Please research it. And again, vote your values on this. Jim, what is your take on whether we should change the Constitution in Colorado to give a right for abortion now that Roe versus Wade being overturned and it's come back to the states?
I'm voting no on this. So they did a lot of little sneaky Pete words in here, the way they wrote the ballot title, exercise of that right, allowing abortion to be covered service under health insurance. So when you really read that, and like I said, even with some college, it sounds like maybe the insurances should change their standards, not the rest of us with our stuff. This sounds like government funding of it. If you really look at it just a little bit, perusing through it like a normal person, you're like, this sounds like some kind of little hidden tax and charging us for something that shouldn't be involving us. Look, we all know how I feel about abortion. It's not a secret. If it's not a medical thing, no. At the same time, the big takeaway is the government should never be involved in your day-to-day household because that's not the way any of it should be. And I'm voting no on 79. Because it just sounds like it's just a tax thing to charge us. They cued in the insurance, governmental employee, did a little word of that right, exercise of that right. So no, just leave it like it is right now. Let it be. If it's a medical thing, I'm sure it'll come up fine and the doctor will come through and have everything A-okay. So no on 79 for me, everybody.
Okay, and again, it already is so that you know on the books in Colorado that you can have an abortion up until full term, but because of the Constitution, taxpayer funding cannot go toward this, and there is rules for parental notification. So this is for those who feel that that's not enough. And just knowing, from the taxpayer side, of course, there's the moral, religious side to this, and depending on how you feel, that would already be decided for you. But just say to the people, Colorado tends to think about taxes, and this would allow taxes. I don't know of taxes being paid out for any other kind of operations, hip replacements or anything like that. So why would this be? And also with all the states around Colorado that are having some level of a ban, this would then allow Colorado to become in a way a tourism, a destination state for abortion. And so question, would you want your tax dollars going to pay not only for anybody's abortion, anybody who lives in Colorado, but anybody who would come to Colorado? That does not officially happen here, but would be then allowed by the legislature, which we've seen the laws passed by the legislature. That's a majority of Democrat that they've passed these things. And so think about it, not just from if you consider it a woman's health issue versus the life of the child. that's for you. But there are other issues at stake here if it becomes a constitutional amendment. So read it and decide how to vote on that.
And remember, look, everybody's got to remember out there, these are very uncomfortable things. The most uncomfortable things have to be discussed the most in the open. We're not all going to agree on every little facet of it. Stretch the old legs of freedom, right? They've got us conditioned. Never discuss politics, religion, morals, values, ethics, yada, yada. These are things we should be discussing with each other, and this is a very uncomfortable topic. I'm not going to sugarcoat. I'm not going to lie to you about it. A very big discussion is here. There are a lot of spokes on this wheel, okay? It's not so simple as a yes and no the way they always word these things. I am voting no on it, but it is a very good discussion to have to all generations in your friends, family, people you do business with. Just discuss this stuff. It is uncomfortable, yes. But remember, those are the most important conversations to have.
And as we say in the Peak News every day, we say the quiet stuff out loud. So having these discussions are really, really important. Not going to war with our neighbors over them. But these are things that are really big deals. They're social issues, moral issues. They become political issues. But when people say everything's a political issue, so I'm staying out of it, no, we need to engage with it in our society, and we need to be willing to speak up. There's something that the cost of silence is that every time somebody remains silent because the cost is too high to speak up, it makes it more expensive for the next person to say it. And pretty soon we have a silenced society, and voting is such a basic way. You know, as far as we know, it's anonymous. You get to, nobody knows how you vote unless you tell them. So please make sure to vote and do this level of research.
And I say, tell them how you voted. You should be proud and happy of the decisions you make.
I think so, but if you don't feel that way, you don't have to.
You don't have to, but at the same time, that's fine. But don't be complacent, because then you become complicit to very serious issues. And a lot of people in the system bank on you not participating. They like that when you don't participate.
Yeah. It gives them double or triple or quadruple the votes. For everybody that doesn't vote, they're doubling up their vote, and they probably don't share the same values. So please do vote. Okay, this is the last constitutional amendment, and then we'll move on to the propositions. This is 80, constitutional right to school choice. Shall there be an amendment in the Colorado Constitution establishing the right to school choice for children in kindergarten through 12th grade, and in connection therewith declaring that school choice includes neighborhood, charter, and private schools, homeschooling, open enrollment options, and future innovations in education? There are some who see this, and I'll let Jim comment, and then want to just add something, because there are some who are saying this as what we refer to as a Trojan horse, that there are things that you don't notice on first glance that you might want to consider. Jim.
Now, I have children in school, and some of us have children in school. So first off, I was yes on this because of the way it was worded. But doing a little more reading, a little more chit-chat, and then actually getting down to the semantics of my own personal experience, my kids can go to whichever school that I kind of decide for them to go to, and so can yours now in town. You can pick a school and go, and there's a little form to fill out. So the portion of the property tax or housing tax or whatever you got for your taxes will go to that school. It's a little form you turn in at the school, and you can go through the steps and get your kids in other schools already throughout town if you so decide to transport and take them there as such. So I was going to vote yes on this, but after kind of looking, I'm like, I can already pick, and so can you, whichever school you want your kid to go to. So I'm voting no on it to leave it the way it is, because it does sound a little bit of that sneaky Pete, sweeping something under the rug to pull something out to throw on the tile kind of thing. So I don't know what they're doing with it. I don't know why this is in here, because you can already pick and choose your school, and it sounds like another little thing to fish out some more money out of your pocket too.
Well, let me comment what some people are saying. I was surprised to find out that Carolyn Martin, who's an advocate for the Christian home educators of Colorado, that represents Christian homeschoolers here, and I would think she'd be for it, because everybody in this realm with homeschool, I homeschool, wants a voucher system. We want to be able to have the money go with the child and go wherever we want, even if it involves homeschooling, even if it involves being able to buy the materials and things like that to go with the child. But a couple of things on here, alerted her, and the number one, and one is that, and in talking to others, Jason Lupo had on the Peak the other day, and we were talking about this, that that the money right now, that money cannot go to a Christian private school. It can't be used for that. So people who are going, this is the voucher system, this is the way to it, until this money can truly go anywhere that a parent would want to put the money, that this wouldn't help. Secondarily, and what's worrying her is that there is language within this, and please go in and read it yourself, that it talks about the right of education for the child. And as we know, as parents, whether it be in sports or other things or notification, there's a lot of legislation out there to give rights to a child, to make children, minors, sovereign in a way that their parents won't have a right to be in their lives. The children run things. If you ever read 1984, there was a lot of that in there. The children have more rights than the parents, and then, where does that go? So there's a worry that because of the wording talking about, and there are some good things in there. I've read it. There are some good things that seem to be giving rights to the parents, but it does talk about the right of education for the child, and how might that, within the bureaucracy, be spun down the line to take away rights from parents. So there are some who are suspect on that, but as always, please read it and decide for yourself.
So yeah, I'm voting no. I'm leaving it like it is, and I don't know. The tail don't wag the dog with me. I let my morals, values, and ethics and my sense of community and so forth be exercised in teaching my kids that. I want them to be better than me. I don't want them being like me. So I'm voting no. Let it stand.
Okay. So we're about to move on to what are called the propositions, not the amendments. But before we do, I want to mention a couple of things. One about the Peak News. The Peak News is a venture that we launched back in January here on AM 1460 and FM 101.1. The Answer, 3 to 4 p.m. Monday through Thursdays. And we say the quiet stuff out loud. We looked around for real journalism, investigative journalism, even things that just ask good questions and demand the answers. And we didn't find it. We see that nationally, that the media is not doing its job. It's been bought and paid for in a lot of ways, or it's just lazy. And so I thought, and the people around me got together, and we put together the Peak News to be a true grassroots citizen journalist, really media experiment. And so you can go on, please, the Peak News, thepeak.news is our website, and find out all about us and about being a citizen journalist, a tech, an intern, a guest, or a sponsor. And our goal is to have media transparency and accountability across the entire Pikes Peak region. We'd love you to join us as a fan, either when we're live during the week or on our podcast on thepeak.news. But really, for you, if you have a story to tell, you want to get involved, to become a citizen journalist and join us. So go on thepeak.news for more information. Secondly, about 4 years ago, after the 2020 election, I was feeling I wanted to do something, and I was upset, as I'm Jewish. I'm a Messianic Jew, so I'm in the church as a Jewish person, looking around and saying, why isn't the church more involved with things? Why aren't they getting educated? Why aren't they voting? And we just found out from a George Barna survey that just came out a couple of days ago from when we're recording this, that 50% of Christians in this country have decided that for different reasons they're not going to vote in this election, in this 2024 election. They're just checking out for a variety of reasons. And I saw that happening. And so 4 years ago, I started something called Church Voter Guides. And what we do is it's very simple. It's not that we pick Christian candidates. In fact, we don't pick anybody. We're completely nonpartisan, 501c3 compliant. And what we do is we survey the candidates. We choose very open-ended questions. We send the surveys to the candidates, give them a couple of weeks to answer, up to 120 words per answer, and we publish exactly what they send in. That's it. There's no opinion. We don't even fix typos. So we invite you as part of your journey. Again, it's called Church Voter Guides because, well, I didn't tell you this straight out, churches a lot of times have bought into this separation church and state. We can't comment on anything. We can't do anything. And this is the number one reason why George Barna says that the Christians aren't voting. It's because their pastors aren't speaking up. They've been, in ways, scared into silence. So I said, let's do a guide that is absolutely 501c3 compliant because it doesn't advocate for any candidate or political party. It doesn't support or oppose. It just gives the information directly from the candidates. You can't get this information anywhere else. Everywhere there's a news article or a voter guide, there's some kind of judgment being passed. These are the words directly from the candidates themselves. You have to decide whether you like their answers or not. So churchvoterguides.org, churchvoterguides.org. You can go on, and we're including ballot amendments in it this year too, but from a journalistic standpoint, again, with no opinion, just presenting that information to you. Get this really anywhere. It's good for everybody, but especially get it into the church where people are deciding to check out churchvoterguides.org. Okay. Now, Jim, thanks for all that. Now we're moving into what are called the propositions, and these do not require 55% like the constitutional amendments. It's 50% plus one of those who vote across the state. And the first one that we're doing, because we're doing these in ballot order, is JJ, retain additional sports betting tax revenue without raising taxes. They put that in there. They want you to know, without raising taxes. That sounds great. Give it to me, right?
Yeah, that usually just means they're going to take the taxes from somewhere else and charge you somewhere
prohibitive, else. Right? Yeah. May the state keep and spend all sports betting tax revenue above voter-approved limits to fund water conservation and protection projects instead of refunding revenue to casinos. This allows the state to keep and spend more money for water projects when sports betting tax revenue is collected above the normal. No is status quo.
Look, I'm voting no, leave it alone. If they're wanting to keep it for some kind of reason they're saying, what's to hold them accountable or anything else? Look, some of you guys like to gamble or go to a casino, grab yourself a drink, put some coins in a slot. Enjoy that the price probably stays down because the excessive tax money that they can't take. Because if they're going to tax those kind of things that are pretty well funded, they're just looking for a way to tax you too. So it probably makes your little bit of fun casino time a little bit more affordable, leaving it alone for your friends or family or people that come to visit and want to do all the casino and stuff. Not my shot of whiskey. Let people do their thing. It's another taxi thing under some kind of other weird guise for some obscure reason that I don't understand by having some college. So I'm voting no on it. So JJ is a no for me.
And when we're looking at these things, another question, because questions should pop into your head of, why is it there, right? Like, why did someone take the time to get something through a title board, to go out and get the necessary signatures to get on the ballot? Generally, to get on the ballot, in order to get those 125,000 approximately signatures in the state, costs a lot of money. They're paying people. The people that don't have the money to do it generally don't get on the ballot.
It's all about the money. The question
is, why is there not funding for this thing already? We're going to get to that when we get to this tax in Colorado Springs. It's always, we want to take the money from this and we want to do this super, super noble thing.
It sounds fancy. Sounds like pillow talk to me.
But the question is, does that money, and where's the accountability? And this is something on the Peak News that we're starting to look into. And the more citizen journalists we do, is the money for these things that have passed before actually getting to fund the thing? And if it even is it even being effective doing it? So there's a lot of layers.
I'm all for water conservation or finding more water. Water's good. It's expensive out here nowadays, and it shouldn't be, but it is, and we will never fight California on it. So it's like, okay, this is a way from the fund that instead of paying some lawyers to fight Cali and some other places with it.
But why is there money to be taken out of sports betting? To pay? Like it seems very convoluted.
Leave it like it is. If they're doing it, there's some kind of sneaky Pete, robbing Peter to pay Paul, or some kind of nonsensical type thing going on with it. So leave it like it is kind of that's usually my stance on it. But yes, read more, know more about it. It just sounds a little fishy. Hopefully it doesn't smell fishy.
Okay, well, here's one that's somewhat similar to that. KK, firearms and ammunition excise tax. Passes with a majority vote. Shall state taxes be increased by $39 million annually to fund mental health services, including for military veterans and at-risk youth? That sounds great, right? We want mental health services.
Sounds so nice.
School safety and gun violence prevention and support services for victims of domestic violence and other violent crimes by authorizing a tax on gun dealers, gun manufacturers, and ammunition vendors at the rate of 6.5% of the net taxable sales from the retail sale of any gun precursor part, or ammunition, with the state keeping and spending all of the new tax revenue as a voter-approved revenue change. So, yes would mean adding this 6.5% tax to guns and gun parts and ammunition. A no would keep status quo.
Yeah, I'm a no on this, obviously. This is ridiculous. You know what? Honestly, firearms and ammunition should be a tax-exempt item, period. It's right.
Not infringed.
It's not supposed to be infringed, right? They want to take the second away, so they're going to try to charge you out of it with some kind of frivolous things that are already... Look, I'm a veteran. I'm all for veteran mental health and keeping everybody cool and good and helping and not having pointless violence and nonsensical. There's a lot of nicely worded stuff in here. I ain't going to lie. It sounds like you're trying to slip me a couple drinks and a Mickey here and be sleeping with me tonight. That's what this sounds like. Real sweet pillow talk, a lot of nonsensical things. No. If anything, a firearm and ammunition, it should be that they should be tax exempt because it is a... Right? Second Amendment, don't infringe upon it. Let's go on with this. This is ridiculous. I'm assuming this is a very Governor Polis sausage back thing with wanting to stick it to us again. So I'm a no on the KK.
Interesting. This is similar, can be what happened with cigarettes.
Yeah, I quit smoking because the government was just a big tax on it. What does a pack of smokes actually cost? Like $2?
I don't know.
And some change. I used to love cigarettes. I used to smoke too many packs a day, but I liked them. It was my one vice, working too much. Now I don't smoke, and it's not for my health. I just didn't want to be paying an excessive tax on something else. Just like I've never bought a 10-cent bag. I have not paid for a bag since they've charged it. I will carry everything out looking goofy, putting stuff in my pocket looking suspicious, because we already know I look suspicious anyways, and not pay for some kind of other nonsensical tax to fund some other nonsensical thing for some system to pillow talk me. I'm good.
Our family was in Kansas a couple months ago and went into a store, and I just was like, free bags? Can I take more? It became that, but I want to let people know this social change through excessive taxation is a technique of social justice. And a friend of mine who is a professional massage therapist who actually teaches on it, was in here a few weeks ago telling me, I didn't even know this, that in Colorado Springs was a tax passed that's costing him about $150 a year, and he said it's on all the massage therapists in Colorado Springs, in order to pay for the police to go and investigate and shut down massage parlors. So you would think that would be within the normal police budget, and they would know where these are, but taxing the legitimate business so that those who are having a illegitimate business can be policed by the very same police force that's supposed to have money to take them out anyway. It seems to be a trend. And so taxing people and involving people who are trying to sell guns,
it's because
to
they
make
don't,
it more expensive to fund something that should be funded
all these things to say they're funded. There's already budgets and everything for this stuff, and they're not making a proper impact. An effective system would be like, oh, look, I have extra tax money left over. I was effective, not let me keep circumventing and repeating these same old lovey-dovey things and helping McHelpers and things that there's already budgets for. They don't want to be held accountable for the budget of going, hey, there isn't a thing for whatever, law enforcement, veterans, mental health that they're not coming through on and stuff. They go, oh, we need more money. No, you need to be more effective with the stuff that's already budgeted, not triple dipping on the same topic all the time with other little titles on it. So the system's just hustling us again. Another tax, another reason, another nonsensical thing, a lot more pillow talk again. They sure like to whisper sweet nothings in our ears all the time, right? Here's all the things you're helping by being charged half to death because you know what? You just worked all day. You got your Chuck E. Cheese tickets, and you'd really like to have an eraser and maybe one of those little glider planes, right? You want your prize at the end of the day, but we want to take your tickets and give you nothing. No, I'm good. No, it should be firearms, like I said. It should be a tax-exempt item.
Okay. And to say, because we haven't, this sort of break in the program, this is Jim Miller's Just a Guy. Jim Miller, Just a Guy. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman, executive producer and host of the Peak News, and we're presenting this to you for entertainment purposes only, but this is real deal. We're going through things with a sense of humor that in order to live in today's society, I think
and
we better
and
all
a sense
have
of
one,
tax rage, and
a level of rage. But it's for entertainment purposes only. If you'd like to vote as Jim is or not, that is completely up to you. We're just trying to provide this as a service to the community. Okay. Proposition 127, prohibit bobcat, lynx, and mountain lion hunting. Shall there be a change to the Colorado Revised Statutes concerning a prohibition on the hunting of mountain lions, lynx, and bobcats, and in connection therewith, prohibiting the intentional killing, wounding, pursuing, entrapping, or discharging or releasing of a deadly weapon at a mountain lion, lynx, or bobcat, creating 8 exceptions to this prohibition, including for the protection of human life, property, and livestock, establishing a violation of this prohibition as a Class 1 misdemeanor, and increasing fines and limiting wildlife license privileges for persons convicted of this crime. People are also calling it a trophy hunting prohibition. Those who are for it are saying, you know what, these things are regulated already by wildlife. There's a level, these are apex predators. There's a reason why you don't want, especially since we have livestock and pets. There's a lot of people that have pets, but it's seeking to be characterized as just people that want to go and shoot trophy hunting here. Jim, what's your take on it? Are you a hunter, Jim?
I have not been hunting for many years. I am too busy working and paying for a bunch of these excessive taxes that I'm trying to vote less of to happen right now. Let's be straight with this. It's already legal to hunt lynx, isn't it? So they're not really doing anything with that. And
well, this would prohibit. You mean saying it's illegal?
It already is prohibited to hunt a lynx. So they're not doing nothing with that. I say leave it be. I'm voting no on it. And it just seems like to me, it almost sounds like they're trying to lead a thing where you can't be going out and like trails or hiking without a firearm. Like they're kind of trying to lead towards that slowly but surely, the little chipping at the edge kind of thing. They don't want you out in the woods with your firearm for XYZ reason.
For
Why would you need it? It sounds like a little chipping away of that. And why? Once again, the same question pops up, right? With most of this stuff. Why? Why would someone go through the effort of this? I'm not going to lie to anybody. I'm not going around to people's house and they're going, look at my trophy mountain lion. Check that out. I mean, a lot of people have elk and large, large animals or a large boar or go to a hunt.
And you need license.
Yes, and it's already regulated on, so why are they wanting to dabble in it? Just leave it be, vote no. It sounds like a little bit of chipping away at you doing something for some obscure, longer goal, strange reason.
And this seems similar to the wolf one.
Yeah.
That people on the front range that don't deal with that. Now we have wolves that are, killing cattle and other things. This seems to be extra regulations to me also. And of course, hunting is very important in Colorado, and hunters are worried that, the rights to that are being more and more taken away. Animal rights.
If you like me and want me to go hunting with you, please invite me. I will go when I have some free time I never have.
Maybe we should do a contest. You can go hunting with Jim.
Yeah, that would probably be terrible. I haven't been hunting in very, very long time.
Okay, let's keep moving this along. This is Proposition 128 on the Colorado ballot, parole eligibility for crimes of violence. Basically, right now, if you are tried and convicted of a violent crime, you have to serve at least 75% of your sentence before you could be discretionally paroled. This would bring it up to 85%, so people serving more of their sentence for violent crimes. Let's see here. Those who are convicted of second-degree murder, first-degree assault, Class 2 felony kidnapping, sexual assault, first-degree arson, first-degree burglary, or aggravated robbery committed on or after January 1st, 2025. So if you're going to do that, better get it in soon. We bet if people that are convicted of this to serve more of their sentence, 85%, not 75%.
All right, so I think it's a step in the right direction, but what's the point of a sentence if they're not serving it 100% anyways? All right, look, we all know how I feel about rapists, pedos, sex traffickers.
No, people may not know. Tell them why you ran for mayor.
I firmly believe that they should have the death penalty. They gave an innocent a lifelong sentence, and they run around willy-nilly out in the streets and in the community doing whatever, getting very limited sentences compared to, like, someone selling drugs or doing drugs, it seems. This is ridiculous. And if we want to be generous and, like, fluffy about it, okay, they should get life in prison. But I don't even feel like funding them is an optimal avenue. I think they need to actually start sentencing a lot of these atrocious, terrible just despicable, disgusting things that happen in our community and in our society. What's the point in sentencing if they're not serving a sentence, or they get out, or have it deferred if they are this evil and just terrible and disgusting, terrible people? I'm voting yes on it because it's a direction. It's in the right direction, 85%. Then why even give a sentence? It just, to me, the whole thing just seems a little bit messed up.
So you don't think good behavior should come into people with violent levels?
They had good behavior while some guy was raping some lady or a child, or murdering somebody for no reason and stuffing them in a freezer or some other gross thing. The good behavior.
Good behavior when they're in prison.
Yeah, because you're structured and you're being watched 24/7. No. You quit being civilized? No. A lot of this stuff actually, in my opinion, deserves the death penalty, and that's my firm belief on it. And that's just it. It's a step in the right direction. I'm voting yes. There needs to be more sentencing, stricter sentencing, and actually sentencing some of these terrible things, and not deferring it or going, oh, it's XYZ, or let's put them through some counseling or something, because this is a lot of evil here that needs to be held accountable. That's the problem a lot in our community and our society nowadays. So it's a step in the right direction. I don't think it's enough. I'm voting yes on 128.
Okay, 129, establishing veterinary professional associates. Shall there be a change to the Colorado Revised Statutes, creating a new veterinary professional associate profession, and in connection therein, establishing qualifications, including a master's degree in veterinary clinical care or the equivalent as determined by the State Board of Veterinary Medicine to be a veterinary professional associate, requiring registration with the state board, allowing a registered veterinary professional associate to practice veterinary medicine under the supervision of a licensed veterinarian, and making it a misdemeanor to practice as a veterinary professional associate without an active registration.
What? Let's just be straight. What? How did this veterinary stuff get into the fold here? First off, once again,
they got signatures and they got it on the ballot.
I reiterate to some college. All right, look, I like veterinarians and stuff. So what does a yes do? A yes vote on Proposition 129 establishes the new regulation professional veterinary professional associate as a provider of veterinary care alongside veterinarians, veterinarian technicians, and veterinary technician specialists. Who do we know any veterinarians? I'm kind of undecided on this one. I'm sorry.
Ask your veterinarian.
Ask your local veterinarian what to do on 129, because what? That's just a lot of stuff about a veterinarian thing that I don't know. I think veterinarians they're good. I like my animals. I like my animals usually better than most people nowadays. I'm just saying, and I want my animals to be taken care of and healthy and stuff, but let's be legit. Just ask your local veterinarian. I'm a little bit undecided on this one. So If I have to say yes or no, I'd say no and just leave it alone.
Okay, 130, funding for law enforcement. Shall there be a change in the Colorado Revised Statute concerning state funding for peace officer training and support in connection therein to appropriate $350 million to the Peace Officer Training and Support Fund for municipal and county law enforcement agencies to hire and retain police officers? I'll just throw this in, a concern that came up, that the death benefit for police officers would be some 10 times what it is for those in the armed forces. And people are wondering, why would we need that big a death benefit for that? Is it because police officers are going to be sent out to, I don't know, confiscate guns and might be getting shot at a higher level? Recruitment might be hard to do in that situation. And so this is the Trojan horse and the suspect thing that's been brought up to me. Jim, what is your position on funding for law enforcement 130?
I don't have a problem with law enforcement by any means. As long as you're not a window tint cop, I really don't care if you're dealing with real stuff, okay? I don't care if you're sheriff's department, county, state, city. I don't care. As long as you're dealing with the real crimes and you're not some revenue generating, oh, that guy's got window tint, or look at the kid that's building their car and staying out of trouble, and I'm going to go screw with them because their exhaust is too noisy, whatever. I don't care about any of that kind of crap or registrations or anything. This seems a little sneaky Pete, too. I say no and leave it like it is, because it just seems like there might be some more underlining nonsensical type things, and the money always has to come from somewhere. So where does it come from? Us. The overworked, the overtaxed, the exhausted. And what's the big bit for enforcement and wanting the death, the insurance for anybody that expires during work? I'm voting no. I'm not for it. It seems like there might be some other weird, obscure things. I have nothing against law enforcement as long as you're actually protecting the community.
And I thought we were into defunding the police. I mean,
well,
look for who's supporting this. Also, that's always interesting to see what parties are supporting what institutions and what private parties are supporting something. There was all this for defunding the police. Now we're in for funding the police. Okay. This is the last one, and then we're going to get to the Colorado Springs questions. This is 131, establishing all candidate primary and ranked choice voting general elections. If you thought anything was convoluted, this one is quite difficult. If you study any of this, and you should, especially if you're planning to vote for it, shall there be a change in the Colorado Revised Statutes creating new election processes for certain federal and state offices, and in connection therewith, creating a new all-candidate primary election. This means that there wouldn't be party primaries. Just everybody, any party, unaffiliated, everybody would run at the same time. This is how I've come to understand it. They then take the top 4, and then when you go to the general election, you rank, because then it becomes ranked choice. You rank 1, 2, 3, 4 that you want to vote for, and then if nobody gets the majority, then they start cutting off from the bottom. It's a very complicated system that does away with the party system. And in places like Alaska, where it's been done, very often it's one party, multiple people from one party, or in a situation where the vote gets split, like in the mayoral election when there were 12 people running, that you don't have this primary where you end up with a Republican and a Democrat in the general necessarily. Jim, have you had time to... this is very convoluted. Have you had time to look into it?
I had time to realize I'm going to say no and leave it like it is, because I could see the aspect of it coming up where whatever political party, I don't care, left, right, whatever, but just a bunch of candidates from that where they're like, oh, look, we won. Even if we lose, 3 or 4 of them, we still win. So I'm no on it. I'm all for opening things up, especially to, unaffiliated third-party setups, just people that care and want to be taking a swing at things. But I think this is another one of those, why would someone want to take the effort? Who wanted to put the effort to get this rolling and going? And where's it coming from? And who paid to make sure they got the signatures on this one? So I'm voting no to kind of leave it like it is, because I think there's some underlying reasoning that I probably would not like. Okay. So I'm a no on 131 as well.
Okay, so we've gotten through all of the Colorado ballot initiatives. We are now, because centered here in the Springs, the peak is, we are going to do the 3 ballot initiatives that are questions on the ballot. We will start with 2C, road repairs sales tax measure. A yes vote supports renewing the 0.57% sales tax for 10 years that exists. A no vote opposes renewing it, so thereby allowing it to expire December 31st, 2025. So there is currently this tax. It expires at the end of next year. This would renew it, again, purportedly to collect this extra 0.57% sales tax in Colorado Springs to pay for road repairs.
I'm voting no on it. I don't care if it's 0.00015%. No more taxes. There's already budgets for the roads. They should have been upheld, and the people that are supposed to be budgeting and maintaining the roads should be held accountable and should have always been held accountable, not adding an additional charge. For those of you that are new voting out here, there's already budgets for all this stuff. 2C, I kind of feel like we got a little scammed with it because I don't think they really came through with it. And there is already budgets for road and infrastructure maintenance and upkeep and new and fixing all this stuff. And it should have already been done. And whoever didn't get it done and who hasn't been getting it done should have already been held accountable. And 2C should have never been thrown up on anything.
So what we're saying is for the past 9 years, there has been this additional tax. And look at the roads.
No, I'm
right.
No
like, what do you think that? Do you think that the roads have been improved with this tax?
They're okay in some spots, but what happens every time it just gets destroyed and ruined again, and the upkeep is very minimal, and it seems like putting a lot of Band-Aids on a lot of real wounds here. So I'm no. Everybody knows I'm no on a lot of taxes and holding the people that are supposed to be in control of the funding of every one of these topics and actually showing me. Don't guide me to a website and say, oh, look, it says on the website. I want to see with my own eyes that if I gave tax money for a road, a building, a table, I don't care. I want to see the table. I want to see the building. I want to see it complete. I want to see the road completed and upkept. I don't want any more taxes. No, it's already too expensive out here for what it is. No on 2C is where I stand with it.
Okay, and now we get to the final one where we're saying the quiet stuff out loud. This is Jim Miller's Just a Guide, presented to you by the Peak News. And we're going to present these two together and talk about them together because they're interrelated and they're both about recreational retail marijuana in Colorado Springs. There is medical marijuana here. There are a certain amount of licenses. I don't believe there can be more. There was an initiative to see if the people of Colorado Springs, was it 1 year ago, 2 years ago, to decide to do recreational marijuana. It was voted down.
It was voted down, but the tax was voted yes on it. It was goofy.
Right. Well, that's how ballot initiatives work. And so what we have is a situation here where we have 2D. And if you vote yes on that, supports amending the city charter to prohibit retail marijuana establishments in the city. So period, it couldn't be. You can't have any retail. 300, question 300, is to authorize only medical marijuana licensees, those that have the licenses, to become recreational marijuana retail licensees. So it would allow those who already are running, have licenses for retail marijuana shops to now, for medical, to add retail. It limits the number of recreational marijuana retail licenses to the number of medical marijuana licenses as of November 5th, 2024, and it requires any change to violations or penalties of certain recreational marijuana offenses to be approved by voters. There's more to it, and it's also involving, I believe, that you cannot have any of these establishments within 1,000 feet of certain things like schools and such. Now, what D is doing would be to not allow this to be. So if D gets voted in, and I have to admit that I'm not sure if it's more, one gets more votes, how they're going to balance this if both get enough yes votes to pass, how this is going to work. And I'm sorry I didn't research that before we came on here because that's a good question. But they are interrelated. So, Jim, this is a controversial issue. Obviously, you can buy it retail over in Manitou, and people do. The voters in Colorado had wanted to keep it out. 300 would allow it in. 2D would keep it out. What is your position on this? And again, for entertainment purposes only, Jim, what's your take on allowing recreational retail marijuana in the Springs?
So a yes vote would allow the medical to do recreation.
On 300, yes on 300 would allow those with medical licenses to also allow anybody of age 21 to come in and buy.
So, and then 2D, a yes vote
would prohibit it. You can't have it at all. Yeah.
Okay, so wow, what a goofy way to do it and to try to keep it to where it doesn't happen. My personal opinion on this, as a whole, we already have all the negative effects of weed being legal in the state, the county, the city.
What do you see the negative effects being?
Well, we already have the people that just moved down here for weed. We have excessive traffic of people driving to buy it in other places. So I personally am just like, just whatever. Let the medical places sell it recreationally in town. It'll probably make a little less traffic on the road after work. So instead of people driving to Manitou, Pueblo, wherever the heck they sell it at, I don't smoke, for the record, either. I don't care, but I'm real big on people's freedoms and decisions and choices. So I'm yes. I'm no on the 2D and yes on the 300. I guess that's how it goes. So let the recreational happen. There's already a bunch of people that smoke. It'll keep people from driving somewhere else. The money will stay in town. So, and maybe it'll create a couple extra jobs, needing a couple extra people working or needing stuff. And it'll keep the people off the road. Now, maybe it'll make some less traffic. I don't know. Roughly, that should be what, like 25% less cars on the road after work.
And people driving high.
Yes. They can just drive right in town from their work. You can come right from your Best Buy job, right from the mall job, and go straight home and stop on the way and go home. Okay. I don't have a problem with it. I'm no on 2D, And yes, on the 300, you can disagree with me. I fully accept that, like that, and appreciate it. But that's my thing. Recreational should just be legal in town. Have it be. It is what it is.
Okay, Jim, we got through it in just about an hour.
Nice.
Thank you for that. This has been the Peak News presenting Jim Miller, who is heard every day on AM 1460 and FM 101.1. The Answer, Monday through Thursday during the week, 3 to 4 p.m. on the Peak News. You can go to thepeak.news for more information about that and listen to Jim's rants as well as our daily broadcast in podcast. But Jim, to finish up, Jim Miller, Just a Guide. This has been Jim Miller, Just a Guide. Final comments to those who are, deciding whether to vote, how to go through things. What is your parting words to your voter guide, your first official voter guide, Jim?
Look, get out there, vote, read this stuff, at least take a swing. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to change your mind. It's very good to discuss and have disagreements about this, even at the kitchen table with your own family members or on the couch watching TV or reading or perusing through it. It's okay. It's fine. We don't all have to agree. We ain't got to be friends to be neighbors. And if you want it better, you got to be better, but you got to do something. You got to at least do something. Yes, I understand those that have no faith in the system or don't think it's going to count or don't think any of that stuff. I get that. Trust me. I do. I have my doubts as well, too. But I'm not going to sit idly by. I will not be complacent and become complicit to things. I'll at least take the baseball bat, pick it up, swing it as hard as I can as many times, hopefully hit a home run or a grand slam somewhere along the lines by trying to take at least a stance or something on any of this, because you kind of have to, all right? Get up, stretch your old legs of freedom. The tree looks like it might need some watering coming up. Make your decisions, do your bit, do your part, all right? Look, we're all out here. We're all doing stuff. We're all overworked. We're all overtaxed. We're all tired. We're all angry. Let's start doing some stuff about it, ladies and gentlemen. And if you have any angry mail or comments about it, make sure you send them to Heim.
All right. Thanks a lot.
All right.
Okay. That was Jim Miller, Just a Guy, and Jim Miller's Just a Guide. I'm Chaim Goldman, executive producer and host of the Peak News. Thanking you for joining us on this. Make sure, get educated with Jim. Church voter guides, different voter guides that are out there. Read articles, read what the candidates say about themselves. Get informed, vote your values, but make sure to vote here in Colorado before November 5th. Thank you so much for joining us, and make sure to check out the Peak News on AM 1460 and FM 101.1. The Answer, Monday through Thursdays from 3 to 4 p.m. and on our website at thepeak.news. And share this guide, please, with others. Thank you, and thank you for voting.